I've always been a unique person, you know what I mean? Sort of laid back in a way, but very adamant and very passionate about what I believe. I think a lot of times that sort of throws people off because they don't expect me to have the mindset or the process of thought that I do. And so when you come in to watch my channel, you may hear a myriad of thoughts and ideas that could be different from others. What I want you to do is just sit back, like, share, and subscribe. Well, hello and welcome. Welcome to the Lockhart Radio. And I'm so excited to have Taylor Budd with us again this evening. He is here, and I'm excited to also introduce him to everyone over on the Lockhart Perspective, because tonight, of course, we are simulcasting here with Lockhart Perspective, Lockhart Radio, and the Lockhart Perspective, Headlines with a Voice. So we are excited to have him here. We're going to get right into the show, and I hope that if you guys have any great questions that you'd like to ask, that you put them there in the chat. Taylor, welcome. It's so good to see you, and I'm happy to know that you could be with us again tonight. Tell us, how have things been for you over this past week? Has your week been well?
Yeah, no, thank you for having me again. I'm glad to be back. It's been a busy week, so I guess I can't complain. Better than stagnation, but I was a little I got some good sleep last night, but the rest of the week I was like, man, just getting like thin and just working on the addition in the house. Like I've been putting this room together and just doing it. Like I got a friend always said, I mean, the last 10% of the work is 90% of the work.
Yeah.
That's how it feels right now, because I'm so close to the finish line, but I'm so far away.
Yeah, I do know how that is. I think that that's how it is a lot of times whenever we get things that we have to really, hunker down on. It's like getting to that finish line is always, always a task sometimes. I told you earlier that I was sort of fishing around on your channel, looking at a lot of different stuff. And that's one of the things that I love about being an interviewer, is that you get to dig and you get to look and you get to learn a lot more about the individual. And I did see something that I hope everybody goes over to your Instagram page, or at the end of the show, or even now, you can share with people where they can find this kind of information about you. But he is a stand-up comedian, and I absolutely found him hilarious. Now, you guys all know, especially for the folks who have followed the channel for a minute, you know that I have some very funny people in my life. I have Hope Flood, who's been a good friend, one of my best friends for years. And, we went to church together. We've known each other since, oh my goodness, our children were young. And so you guys know I'm trying now. I'm like, okay, I need you to go out there and hang out with her. They're in California. I need you to go and be with them when they do their, she's going to have her comedians, it's not even a podcast, it's actually a series. It's like a 4-day class. It's a session where they all go down there, and I want him to go. I really do. I want him to go because I think that it'll be a great thing for you to sit down with other comedians. You have a niche that not a lot of people are able to take advantage of. It's either one or the other. But you did it quite well, and I found it funny. You said that you wish that you could do it every day. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I wish I could do comedy every day. It's just I don't live around clubs, so like I can only really do it like in the winter. It's like when I have time, like Thanksgiving to like about now, and then it costs so much, man, to live in LA. You don't hear me? It's breaking up.
Yeah, it's breaking up like Wi-Fi. I think that's what it is. I'm hardwired at all times, but sometimes it still messes up.
Is it better now?
Oh, it's wonderful now. Yeah, you're crystal. It's crystal now.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. I had the Wi-Fi off. My bad. But now, like, I like to do it every day. It's just hard because only real season I can do it is from like Thanksgiving till about like early April. Because like the way I was doing it before to keep the cost down, like I would just like stay in my van and just be in Phoenix and be in LA and just or San Diego, anywhere I could go. That's the closest clubs to me, really. I mean, I went to Sacramento, did some in Sacramento and in the Bay, but those aren't really comedy towns. Like LA and Phoenix and a little bit of San Diego, they like more comedy towns. where you got clubs and people doing it like a lot of nights out the week and a lot of open mics and stuff to where you can just stay sharp. And like, so like the only time I can really live in my van is like, you know, whether it's cooler or it's hot, it's not feasible, especially. But yeah, so I, you know, that's the only thing is like I'm kind of limited in that way. But so it's tough because I'm 50 miles from people where I live. Now here I live so rural that there's no one I can tell jokes to. And then I like the sanity that comes with that. But at the same time, I would like to just tell jokes. I would just stay on top of it because it's, you know, so many jokes I got that I be forgetting them because I don't do it all the time.
But you are a natural, and I found it very refreshing. It was really good. So tonight I would like to get into the nuts and bolts of some stuff. We got to know you last week. You can never know anybody in that short amount of time, even though we did go a little lengthy. You can never get to know anybody in that length of time. But what I do want to know is I want to talk to you about something that I absolutely 110% agree with you. And that is this next clip that I want to share with you right quick, because my son is there in California. The majority of my family is still in California. I was raised there, and so my son is still there. Brothers are still there and everybody, but everyone got really excited when they legalized marijuana in California, as well as several other states. My issue when that happened was this can't be the same stuff, stuff of Woodstock. But then again, was the stuff of Woodstock the same stuff of the days before it? And I told everybody, especially my son, I said, hey, you need to be cognizant of all that stuff that's going on out there, because to me, being that they already own the, copyright, or I should say the patent on what you're getting, they can do anything they want, because in order for you to own something, you have to alter or change it in order for you to possess, the ownership of it. So be careful. I found a video of yours today, and I certainly want to bring this up because this is exactly what I was talking about, and I had not seen this before. But I want to get on. I want to get on with this.
Here's why. Look who runs the industry. Look,
I want to start.
This is just a short list. The lungs regulate grief and vitality.
Sorry, you guys, but I got to, because the way that it is the way that I want you to understand it. Okay, here we go. Now go.
Vitality. Smoke is essentially gaseous depression. Smoke destroys your breathing algorithm. Smoking blocks your ability to let go.
God.
The lungs represent the metal element. Your breathing algorithm.
You guys, y'all know I'm not good at this stuff, but I don't care because I'm going to do it again anyway. So there, listen, he said that it is a weapon. And that is my point. That was what I meant when I said I was telling my son.
Rhythm determines your point of attraction. All smokers have unprocessed grief, which turns to depression. Weed is a weapon. Here's why. Look who runs the industry. Look. This is just a short list. The lungs regulate grief and vitality. Smoke is essentially gaseous depression. Smoke destroys your breathing algorithm. Smoking blocks your ability to let go. The lungs represent the metal element. Your breathing algorithm determines your point of attraction. All smokers have unprocessed grief, which turns to depression. Smoking shallows the breathing, which shallows the thoughts. Shallow breaths are more frequent and increase thought traffic. Shallow breathing destroys your dream cycle. Billions of people have varying levels of sleep apnea. Sex organs are regenerative organs. Smoking damages your regenerative system and your endocrine system. So you never really regenerate when you dream. You constantly have night terrors or blackout dreams. Testosterone is the healing hormone for both sexes. Cortisol makes you age and disrupts your digestion. You are forcing your body to relax with forced melatonin release. Not good for the pineal. Look, you naturally have an endocannabinoid system. Injecting external THC creates atrophy. Being high is a form of static euphoria. Signal interference, breath interference. The prefrontal lobe is the metaphysical translator of the body. Habitual smoking is a state of mild dementia. The shallow breathing keeps you locked in the sympathetic nervous system even when you're dreaming, which makes it more likely to hemorrhage energy while you're dreaming. Being high is the first part of detoxing. You're addicted to the opioid release. It's a runner's high because you're running from your emotions. This makes you dull and destroys your logic. Most of it is grown by artificial light. Anything incomplete fragments you. A good portion is grown with incomplete artificial light. Too much. It's like GMO corn, often replete with heavy metals. Most of the seeds are feminized through toxic stress. Most plants are clones or clones of clones. Males are usually sacrificed as per usual. The excessive yin or feminine energy makes one more sensual because of the oxytocin abuse. Oxytocin is not always the love hormone. It can have the reverse effect. Many won't quit smoking because their only so-called friends are smokers. Makes you more antisocial, makes you project. What is imbalanced makes you imbalanced. This is why people are addicted to the smoke itself and not the cannabis. That's that dopamine, basically voluntary hypoxia. Essentially a micro trauma to block the memory of major traumas. A head change is controlled dissociation, allowing an alter to take over. People are more addicted to their smoker personality than the smoke, though. This parasitic personality program makes them feel safe. Smoking only protects you from your own emotions. Eventually, you don't feel anything. Parasites thrive in the distraction, euphoria, pain loop, and babies are swimming in it. White sugar, white salt, white flour, white ash. Get rid of it. Breathe fully to be fully you. There is much more blood at the bottom of the lungs than the top. It feminizes you, blocks your dreams, and makes you schizophrenic. Weed is a weapon.
Wow.
Here's why. Look who.
Wow. 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 All I can say is thank you for that information. And I'm glad that we're able to share it. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, I guess. What part do you think we should expand on? I know a lot of people have an emotional attachment to cannabis, so it's.
I know they do. A lot of people do, but I feel like I wish that I could just put that on. I wish I could just post it on my timeline, because to me, here on YouTube, it's not easy. But to me, that's something that everybody really honestly needs to know, especially right now. If you can think of having that type of power, being able to augment something that has that effect on you, that's two things: that it has the effect that you've shared, and that it has the ability to be altered. That in and of itself is like something you just want to sit back and rest in. You know what I'm saying? That's heavy. That it has that type of
Yeah,
effect on you. That it's even akin to dementia. I mean, that's deep.
yeah,
And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
deep.
Because I mean, most smokers don't just smoke once. That they usually smoke habitually. It's like in their um, rhythm. Whether it be like a couple times a week or whatever. A few times a month. It's like it's in there. It's like in their cycle, in their algorithm, I guess you can look at it. And I feel like most people they haven't got far enough away from it to really get a good contrast to see like how much damage it's doing or how much it's affecting them, chemically and emotionally. It's just I don't know. I think it's a big waste of time, but it's also just so subtle. It's not like you're doing LSD every day or something. It's a very
Mm.
subtle experience. I feel like because people do it all the time and then they become numb to it. Like if you smoke once a year or once every 5 years or something, you respect the plant a lot more. I feel like because then you're like, man, and you respect your body. So because I think then you're like, man, this is actually a psychedelic, and to just be doing this every day, this is dementia. This is like dissociation. You know what I mean? Because it's blocking the breath. I do think that if people were to drink it or eat it, that it would definitely curb that addiction. You wouldn't do it nearly as much. I think it's a lot of it is the smoking and the personality surrounded with being a smoker. But if you was to just eat it, have edibles, or just drink it, I think first of all it's stronger. So I think it gets in your way. I think you realize how much it gets in your way. Like when I would smoke every day, and I transitioned to just having edibles or just having like making tinctures. I feel like um just how strong it is weed by itself. I'm like, oh man, I can't function really. But I think if people just smoke a small amount every throughout the day or all day or or every other day or however they do it, it's like they're staying kind of just in a certain spot in the detox. Like they're never really getting past a certain point in the detox because the cravings is still there. So you're really still addicted. Like if there's any craving to do something, then there's an addiction there. Like you still haven't detoxed fully. So like I think that's more so the issue with smoking is that people think like, oh, I can do it. This is casual. It's not an intense psychedelic. But if you take a lot of time off and you try to come back to it, you realize like how powerful it really is. And like, yeah, especially now with the genetics being changed.
Yeah, what do you think about some of the people that you highlighted as being, who's responsible or who's basically ushering all this stuff in? I remember, back in the 70s and 80s where a lot of people, Pookie Nim and Ray Ray Nim would get run into the jailhouse, up underneath the jailhouse, whether they were pushing it to sell supper or they were just, caught with a little bit of it on them. These cats are, some of them are still coming out of jail now, depending on how much they went to prison for. Now
Yeah.
you got, a whole lot of other cats that are dealing with it, but it's high ranking people. Some of the names that you mentioned even tripped me off. What do you want to say about those? The names.
Yeah, I think it's kind of similar to the alcohol bill. Definitely, they wanted to keep it illegal so that they could lock people up and at the same time capitalize as much as possible off of it. Just like alcohol, like Kennedys, they a lot of people that were anybody that was involved with bootlegging during Prohibition and with the mob. They basically created a platform with that crime, and I feel like it's the same thing with cannabis, where they made it illegal so that they could create human trafficking with the people they lock up, and then you get a bunch of money, illicit, black market money, but then once you make it legal, then you destroy the market, because the market has been destroyed. Honestly, like the cannabis market has been pretty much, I don't think any market has really seen destruction like that. Like cocaine has stayed pretty level, heroin, like all other drug or chemicals experiences like that, LSD, mushrooms kind of got brought down. The market kind of got messed up with mushrooms a little bit too, but I think cannabis, for as far as the market, like a lot of people did, yeah, they made a living off of it, but once it got streamlined, the same people that were making it illegal or their family or whatever, they were the ones that got into it. They basically legalized it for themselves, and then they just destroyed the market. And then the average person, you can't really be involved with cannabis. The average person, there's still some people getting money with it, but it's not like how it was,
Yeah.
even 10 years ago,
Yeah.
20 years ago. It's destroyed. Now it's just warehouses, and you can't compete with that. What it does, the saturation, what that does to the market. So yeah, you're not only getting like genetically manipulated cannabis, you're also getting like a market that has been manipulated, basically out to where you can't really turn a buck, man. Like at this point, because I used to grow. I was in the industry for a while, and at this point, it's hard to just like give the weed away. I feel like I could grow. I could, you could put. I used to get like a pound or two off a plant, and if you grow like 100, 150 plants, like you don't really need more than that. Now you'd have to grow like to really. You'd have to have some. I don't even know how many. You'd have to have so many people that need weed, but I don't even know how people have that big of a network of people that need weed at this point, because like it's just not worth it. What you got to do to put in to make it, to grow it, and then everybody can grow it, and then everybody has a guy, and then there's dispensaries if you want to get like super designer stuff. And I feel like it's just so saturated like that to where the average grower, I know a lot of growers that just stopped doing it just because like especially the people that were like small scale organic type guys, they're like, I'm not doing this no more, it's not even worth it, like because the pound, like, used to be able to get, at one point you could get like a few thousand off a pound. Now I don't even know what it is now. I don't even think it's 1,000 for a lot of for indoor. You might be able to get that just because the electric bill is higher. I mean, the weed's not any better, really. You know what I mean? It's just it just looks really cute. You know what I mean? People, that it looks designer. It comes in a cool bag, but like it's not. I don't know. I feel like that's where we at as far as cannabis is concerned. It has been a completely destroyed market. They locked a bunch of people up, then they destroyed the market when it became legal. So then it's like they won going up and coming down. So I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, they did. Somebody said a comment here that I had been thinking about this. So I was trying to warn all the young people, hey, you might want to not mess with this stuff. You may just want to sit this one out. And that I used to say to people, this does not smell like the stuff from even 70s and 80s or whatever. Although I didn't do it, I did smell it. We went to fraternity parties and we had people that we knew that smoked it. And yeah, tried it one time in my life and decided, thank you, this is not for me. But it didn't smell like this. Somebody's in the chat saying, well, why does it have this skunk smell now? It wasn't like that 30 years ago. No, it wasn't, Deb. Not at all. Now it's just straight trash. And I do believe that it's caused a lot of people, and I think this is more of the macabre side that I want to go on, and that is the side that says, I believe that this stuff right here that they're dealing with now is setting people up for grave failure. And let me qualify that. I believe it's setting people up for grave failure because it's really making people very complicit and almost just straight brain dead. They don't have any ability to just have common sense. It's like they will literally fight over this, which tells me it's not just what we grew up with. I mean, people are literally fist fighting and cussing each other out, and it's just not a love. It's not that, like I say, the doobies at Woodstock. It's nothing like that. This stuff right here, it's it's tragic. This something else is going on. It's something else.
It's casual
going on.
dementia, man.
Yeah, and
It's
that is
dementia.
A heavy phrase.
Yeah, like, because I don't know. I think a lot of people, like, if they was to stop, they would realize how much, how addicted they really are to it. Addicted to ash, for one, and then for two, it's just like addicted to blocking your breath and being in like a slightly psychedelic state, habitually. It's like, it's crazy. It really is like a level of insanity that, it's like it's just casual insanity. I don't really know what else to call it, but it's it's just thrown in your face like day to day, all the time. I don't know. I wonder how many kids are really doing it. I know they say a lot of kids aren't drinking anymore.
A lot of kids are doing it. A lot of kids are getting caught in middle school, high schools with those vape pens that they sort of socialized and brought those things out at first. And now, of course, they vilified them after they've gotten enough kids in those settings using them. But I don't believe there's anything done by accident. But there are a lot of kids that are using it. And I believe that they are, and I could be wrong. I don't have any facts to prove this. It's just a hunch. I believe that they're putting stuff in there that's not supposed to be in there. Not that the marijuana is supposed to be in there, but I do believe that they are harming themselves because there's stuff in there those kids don't know. You have 12, 11, 10-year-old kids that are getting kicked out of school simply because of tampering with these things. And then here in the state and the city that I live in, you've got groups of children that are literally the dealers. And they are, and I'm not trying to be racist. I'm just going to tell you what it is. It in the area that I live in, which of course everybody knows, I live in a rocket city. I live in Huntsville, Alabama. There's a big story there. But even with that, you have a lot of these schools that have groups of people who don't even look their age. They're Hispanic, but they don't look their age. They look like they could be 19, 20, 21-year-olds hanging out at middle schools. And those are the ones that are selling it that we've been able to uncover here in our area. And it's the Black kids that are the ones that are getting thrown away for it. So it's a lot deeper than what we all think. There are some cities, obviously, that, that it's legal for adults. It's always illegal for a child. But in those areas, they're a little bit more lackadaisical. For example, Compton, California, or Compton Unified School District, or LA Unified. They don't get nearly the treatment that the kids get here. Here, they're getting literally thrown in jail, getting a number, and getting all this other stuff. And they just have a bevy of problems. Let me just say that, because of this stuff. So I think that the addiction piece, you've hit the nail on the proverbial head as it relates to the addiction piece. Because the addiction piece is stronger than it's ever been. Back in the 80s and back in the 70s, when we were in high school, well, I was anyway, middle school and high school, these, people could go without it. Now, literally, I like to watch these cop shows. There's one that's out of Atlanta, and they show relatives literally harming one another because somebody took it from them. So there's something going on, and it is not by accident. I believe that it is for control. I believe that it is to subdue the masses, especially in the region that I mentioned, California, specifically for the adults. Back in the, I want to say 90s, yeah, they were talking a lot about some of the towers that we had in Los Angeles County. There were these towers that were really microwave towers, is really what they were, and they have the ability to change or alter personality or things of that nature. Now, when I look at some of the shows that I watch out there where people are literally driving around vlogging, I see them and they're covered up with leaves or fake leaves, look like a weird old Christmas tree type of leaf. And they have those same exact towers. I almost have this mindset of imagining if I were to write a short story, those towers being triggered, and then all of a sudden the people who are using that stuff turn into zombies, and they are now the Walking Dead. That was, we were warned about from the CDC a few years ago, how to survive a zombie apocalypse that they had, for a good while on the CDC's website out of Atlanta. So I know it may seem a little comical. I'm not trying to shed light, but hey, sometimes you got to laugh at some of this stuff because you never know what is on the horizon with some of these folks' thought process. I want to thank everybody for hanging out with us today. I do see you, Charlie, my mods. I appreciate you all for being here. Thank you so very much. I see Curious Georgia 7161. How are you? And I also see Miss Deb. Good to see you. And everybody else, if I miss you, please, please, please just count that to my head and not my heart. Hey, William Smith 9026. Hey, hey, hey. How you doing, baby? All right. So it's good to see you. I want to talk to you about this right here. We just got through seeing Artemis go up, and it never fails that it's always right here when you have a new moon day. I'm Hebrew. I don't know whether you know that. I was, I'm Cherokee by my heritage, but I'm a Hebrew. And so they always seem to do things whenever we have a new moon or a high feast day or something like that. But yeah, so I want to get into this because I remember when we had that, what is it, spaceship or whatever the thing was that went up in the 80s, and it got whacked. And after it got whacked, they said all these people, yes, that these people were gone. But yet and still, there are schools named after some of these jokers, and there are pictures. But anyway, I want to get into this piece, and then I want to go on to one of the videos that you have, and we're going to talk about how is it. We're going to talk about nukes and NASA. How apropos, right? During this time that we're dealing with nukes and NASA. Here we go. Here we are. So This right here is from Fox. I want you guys to go on ahead and hear this. All right. Who's on Artemis?
So good job.
Here, great day for us. Great for this team.
All right, I just had to play that just to show a few of the people that are listed that are supposed to be on there. Let's see, what are their names? Reed Wiseman, Christina, is it Coke or Cook? Coke, however, Victor Glover, and Jeremy Hansen. So those are the people that are going to be, that are, allegedly going up. And I say allegedly because everybody who knows me knows that I don't believe that we ever went to the moon. There was a scripture a very long time ago that I've not seen since at least I haven't seen this scripture since the early 2000s. And it was in the, it was talking about how nobody's foot was ever going to touch it. No man's foot shall touch it. And that passage is no longer there. But luckily for me, I was made to read it by one of the elder women in the church that I belonged to at that time. She was in her 80s. And we were talking about that very calamity that we just got through referencing. And I said, oh my gosh, wasn't that terrible? She looked at me and she said, come here. And I said, yes, ma'am. She said, ain't nobody ever went to no moon. I said, no, ma'am. Yeah, they were trying to go. No, they didn't make it. She said, no, they will never touch it. They will never touch it. And so she said, open up your Bible. And she made me open my Bible. Now, vanity prevented me from even writing the note to write what scripture that was, because I could usually remember scriptures quite well. But nonetheless, I read the passage, and it said that no man's foot shall ever touch it because of the way that the Most High created it. And so she said, read it again. And I said it again. And she said, they ain't been to no moon. And I said, yes, ma'am. And I went on, but I never forgot about that because I read it with my own Bible. I read it myself at that time. But with that said, they've never been. I don't think you can get past. I don't think you get past the firmament. I personally just don't. I don't think that you're ever. I think we're enclosed in something. Again, that's just my personal thought process. But these cats that they have here all look sort of weird and wonky. I don't think they ain't going nowhere. What say you? Because I'm going to show your video afterwards. But what say you?
Yeah, I don't believe it, man. I mean, they might believe it up until the point of, like to look at Gus Grisham, and was it 1967? Gus Grisham, they were in the launch pad, and he was like, how can we communicate from the moon if we can't communicate from the launch pad? And then Gus Grisham ends up burning up in the fire on the launch pad. And then the guy that was investigating it, he ends up getting killed in like a mysterious car accident. And I look at more so the Gus Grisham thing is he really, I think, thought that he was going to go to the moon, but then he's coming to the realization like none of this really adds up. How are we going to, how's this really going to, how are we going to pull this off? Like, and I think a lot of people are compartmentalized within NASA. They really think that they're doing whatever they're doing, and I think a lot of them are really good at math and stuff, and they are pretty much preoccupied with different data to where they just focus on what they're focused on in their compartment, and the left hand doesn't know what the right hand's doing type of thing. And that's pretty much what I see from it, that you could have guys that are full blown, they know like they never went anywhere or they're never going to go anywhere. And then I think it's also possible, like Gus Grisham, that they don't know until the last moment that this is all fake. So I think it could go either way.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with that. I want to play this little clip first, just to sort of, don't get me talking about her tears, because then I would have to talk about Drewski. And I think he's hilarious, and I know she does have fake tears, but yeah, I don't think he needs to be sued about anything. If anything, she needs to be sued by him for wasting his time. But anyway, let you see this right here about how the technology was just lost.
Why have we not gone back to the moon in 50 years?
When we first went to the moon, we have to remind ourselves why. All right?
This guy's a shill, so I'm not going to listen to him. I just want to get down to
when asked why don't we go back, NASA said, well, we can't replicate that technology. It's too difficult.
Yeah, isn't there like some I don't know what you call it. We can't get past a certain point, supposedly. And they said I think it was your episode. They're like, we lost the technology. It's like you lost the technology to get us to the moon. You just happened to lose it.
Nobody wrote.
Where did it go?
They just lost it. You might be talking about the Van Allen radiation belt. And when asked why don't we go back, NASA said, well, we can't replicate that technology. It's too difficult.
Yeah, isn't there like some I don't know what you call it. We can't get past a certain point, supposedly. And they said I think it was your episode. They're like, we lost the technology. It's like,
just want to play that part again. It's like, yeah, I can't bake that cake again, because if I try, I don't remember how many eggs I was using. Was I using 4 eggs or was it 5 eggs, baby? I don't remember. I just know it was some eggs. Well, why don't you just try to use the standard amount of eggs and have at it, bake the cake? Well, I don't know if I can do it again, because I don't remember, was it regular flour or was that Swan's Down flour? I don't remember. Here's the problem. You never went, my friends. They never went. They never went. I don't care what nobody. It's this woman's opinion that they never went. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna put that
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, I mean, and then you can look at like anecdotal evidence, I guess, you know, as far as like in the culture, like the Disney and NASA connection, and then looking at Buzz Lightyear, who's basically Buzz Aldrin. He never goes anywhere, you know. So it's like, I think a lot of stuff is prima facie. It's right in our face. So I think, you know, it's, I don't know, man. April Fool's Day again, really?
And somebody said, absolutely. It's what it feels like all over again. Every, you know, the closer I get to, I guess now 65, the closer I get to that age, which I consider middle age because I'm only 61 and it's middle aged. I'm not elderly. But nonetheless, the closer I get to the middle of that 60 patch, the more I began to feel like this is just like that movie. Is this as good as it gets? And then Groundhog Day. If anybody in the chat remembers those two, those are the two movies that I liken every day to now. None of it scares me. None of it bothers me. I think it's comical at best. And I think that it's a loop. It's just a time loop. That's how I feel. I feel like it's a time loop. All this stuff that's meant to scare you, the stuff that was meant to scare you 6 years ago, that scared a lot of people out of their rights. Is that scary now? Is any of the stuff that was scary then scary now? No. None of it was scary then.
No.
But what they did do was to make sure that it kept you in fear. What do you think about that? Do you feel like fear is a emotion that has a lot of power to it, that if they keep you in fear, then they've got a grasp? And by they, I mean them. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I guess if you go to like by the theory of like of this is a loosh farm and that people are releasing, and I think that that's true. I think it's definitely we're being farmed for that fear energy, because like I think it's like anything, you know, when something's in its raw state, when energy's in its raw state, like a parasite can't even really process it. It kind of needs you as a processor to turn that energy into fear, you know. And I think all other toxic emotions that aren't really emotions, they're just different forms of disease, whether it be anxiety, anger, fear, all of that, lust, even all of that is that's all fear. That's all fear in different parts of the body. You know, fear in the liver is anger. You know, fear in the lungs is depression. Fear in the kidneys is anxiety. So like this is fear translated a different way through a different organ system. And so I think that, you know, generally speaking, when it comes to parasites, they can't eat the raw food, or the raw energy. So they need you to turn it into something that they can actually dine on. And that's pretty much what this whole process is, this whole experience, or this whole loosh farming situation where we've been kind of herded in like cattle into these paradigms. And you know, we're in the paradigms, I think it's got a lot to, you know, it's an emotional paradigm, and it's also indicative of the nutritional paradigm that people are in, and then that has everything to do with the way that they regenerate, you know, the way they dream is going to be intimately connected to the way that you nourish yourself. So if you're not really in touch with your dreaming, you're not going to be in touch with, you know, your true state of health, and then vice versa. Like if you're not really healthy, you're not going to be in touch with dreams. And so
Talk to us about the dreams. Talk to us.
Yeah, so from day to day, people are afraid of different triggers. You know, the nervous system is shot, and then and the whole endocrine system is shot. So people are releasing adrenaline in circumstances that they naturally wouldn't. And then when they're going into the dream state or into REM, they're releasing adrenaline, you know, in a state where they should be tranquil, or however you want, in a calm state where they're actually just receiving themselves and communicating with themselves and processing themselves, you know, ultimately. When we've been compromising our endocrine and nervous systems like this, and we've also been injected with a bunch of toxic media, it's like almost like ammo for the parasite. And then you got your traumas, whatever's been unaddressed. All of that starts to surface because, you know, people are just not processing it in their conscious life. So when they go to bed, that's the only chance they have, an opportunity to process that stuff. So they're just, people are in a loop, essentially, you go into bed every night and you're just revisiting traumas or these insidious images and things that we've been exposed to, that's being used as ammo and like fabric to create a dream space that makes you hemorrhage energy, makes you release adrenaline, and then you go into fight or flight when you're in a state of like pretty much limitless potential, ethereally or mentally, when you're in this dream state. So you're releasing adrenaline and fear, and at that you're hemorrhaging energy. So like that's the perfect time. So like, yeah, like, you have your daily adrenaline releases, or you're anxious or afraid or angry, all those forms of fear. But then really what it's about, that is kind of like to set you up to where your energy gets exhausted in the day, and then you're eating things you shouldn't eat. And that's like the roofie to make you pass out at night, to where you're vulnerable for, what really, for you to really release the goods and really hemorrhage the energy that the parasites want. Because they want, they want your data, your daily emotional energy and all of that. But if they can make you, amplify that type of fear in your dreams, it's really like untethered fear. And it changes the whole system. Like it's almost like an alarm going off for everybody. Everybody's connected through the dreams and through the breath. And so if you got a bunch of people not remembering their dreams, they're being terrorized. It's night terrors. So you got a bunch of people basically like all these alarms going off, and it's affecting everybody. It's not like, it's like if your neighbor's car alarm goes off, you're hearing that. It's going, and the same thing with the dream space where, we're all very intimately connected. So it's not just to affect the one person. It's just to extract the energy and, keep the person depleted to where their decision making is hampered, and they don't really, have the energy to really cognitively, process life correctly. So that, they just continue down that hamster wheel. And then also, the ripple effect of everybody else in the dreamscape, everybody else that's connected through the dreams, is like, it's gonna affect all of us. So
I want to talk to you about the parasitic state. You've mentioned parasites. Last week you mentioned it. And, one of our good friends to the channel came and talked about parasites and how to get rid of them. But he was literally talking about literal parasites. Are you referencing literal parasites?
Yeah, those are like the rental cars for the ethereal ones, and
oh, wait a minute. You're not just going to throw that out and not let me laugh.
Yeah.
A rental car for the ethereal ones. Okay, I'll bite. Go ahead. Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's that's just like the medium, like the worm or the candida or the, whatever it is, flukes, whatever parasite a person has. That's like the medium for them, to drive you. That's just like the physical expression of what's been going on ethereally. So like there's a program there ethereally that is there to process and decompose what's already not in harmony with life and what's harming itself. And so that program is there, to where if somebody's going off the rails and they're in a self-destructed, it's like a fail-safe to protect everything in life itself. So it's like, oh yeah, you're destroying yourself. Okay, these programs, these forces you've now synchronized with them to, further that and expedite that self-destruction, so that you can be processed and turned into fertilizer for life itself. So like that is, essentially what the programs are there for, the parasite programs. That's what they're not really an evil thing, but they're very opportunistic. So like it's just like anything, as far as like, chum in the water, blood in the water, they have a job, a responsibility, and they're designed to do a thing. But if you're giving up, they're going to take as much as you forfeit. So if you're giving up all this energy, they're taking as much as you're willing to give up, and they're using that, and then you continue to forfeit that, they're going to that creates more momentum where they can use your energy against you. And they ultimately rewrite your DNA. They ultimately merging with this program, and so it's now expressing itself through you. You're sharing your body, and they're rewriting your your DNA and your relationship with yourself, your memory, everything's starting to gets like deleted in a sense. Everything that connects you to the source or connects you to like true unconditional love and all of that, that just starts to get gradually chipped away. And you know, you got generations of that, and it's like, you know, people are acting pretty isolated in a parasitic state because they just become husks for the parasite, you know.
Wow, husks for the parasite. Yeah, I'm glad that you got a chance to dig into that just a little bit because yeah, last week I heard you mention it and I understood, but I really wanted to ask a little deeper today to find out, where you were on it. One of the people that I was mentioning earlier had come on about a couple of years ago, and they were talking about cryptosporidium and all of these other, like you say, flukes and all these other things. Um, I'm not a professional in that conversation, but I have heard about a lot of things. One person here even has Morgellons, which I think was used under the nose of people who were affected by it. As a matter of fact, for quite some time, it was being used against people, and people had no clue that this thing even existed. They were told that they were imagining certain things. This what fifth wall radio has up referencing Morgellons, but there were several other things and several other entities that I understand are not even of this place. Before I move forward to even get into that a little deeper, I want you all to see, and please go to Taylor Bud's Instagram, and we're going to get all of that. But I want you, as many of you as you can, to please go over, follow him on all of his social media. He's going to give you all of the calls, letters for all of that. But I want all of you to go over there because he really does need the support. We all need the support. And as long as somebody comes here, I'm going to encourage everybody to go over because I enjoy them. How about that? So we're going to look right now where we were discussing what do I call them? How do I reference them? I talk about NASA and the moon landing. I reference the curtain rods because to me it was like a whole bunch of curtain rods and some dude with a bunch of aluminum foil. So it was like the Reynolds wrap time is really what it was. Here you go.
In 1945 is like space travel in 1969. The biggest bombing of all time isn't Hiroshima or Nagasaki, it's the firebombing of Tokyo. Hiroshima and Nagasaki look like this. No difference from Tokyo. We have been inundated with fake photos and videos for generations. This looks like Looney Tunes. Somehow the structures get destroyed, but not the cameras. And the blast is coming from behind the camera. Then we get all these model sets. Look at all these fake trees in a row like this. And there are constant jump cuts from sets to reality. They're not even trying with some of these fakes. They aged poorly. And there's no consistency. Then they start doing everything offshore and underground because stacking dynamite in the desert was too obvious. Two teams at two locations stacking dynamite and getting told that the other bomb is the nuke and not dynamite. And let's look at Galen Windsor, a nuclear chemist that claimed nukes were not real. He would go around from city to city eating uranium and measuring it with a Geiger counter. After all, radiation is just radiance or heat, light. Yet he lived a long life to 82 years old. And plenty of wildlife is thriving in the Chernobyl area, as well as 3 Mile Island and Johnston Island. Operation Dominic and Operation Fishbowl didn't seem to slow down the wildlife. And these photos look terrible too. This looks like a Red Lobster biscuit in the microwave. Supposedly the blast triggered auroras. But how do we know that wasn't just a natural event that they piggybacked? It seems to happen cyclically. They didn't have the uranium for these bombs, and if they did, they'd be too big to move, especially in 1945. They were blowing things up underground in the desert until 92, but I think they were just blowing up remnants of the advanced civilization that was once there. I don't think there was nuclear secrets. There was just a nuclear secret that they don't exist, and it was shared with certain factions. And the Cold War worked out for arms dealers everywhere, which brings us to NASA and Operation Paperclip, because von Braun was a rocket scientist, and all space programs are just rocket programs. NASA really is Looney Tunes. When you see astronauts in the space station like this, they are wearing VR contact lenses. Look, it's a layered superimposed feed. That is a digital hat in his hand. And they're on harnesses in zero gravity planes. Notice the stabilizing footbar, as you can see here. It's all a show. That's why all the Challenger astronauts are still alive. Or it's the identical twins. Back in 73, you could get away with this. More film that aged terribly. And how much of space is green screen? Even Neil said they've only been to low Earth orbit. NASA and nukes are fake. They are the cornerstone of pale supremacy. It's all just embezzlement and fear-mongering. Just stealing. Watch this video on my YouTube channel. Look at this science project crap. The Mars rover landing was made by James Cameron. Look, he really said that too. These are actor knots. Look at all the fools in this room. You don't say. I guess this is why Buzz drinks and punches dudes in the face for asking him to swear on the Bible that he landed on the moon. Do nukes really exist? Nukes in 1945.
No, you didn't say actor knots. Hold on, let me bring us back. Oh, my lamb. He said actor knots.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that besides all of that, man, that the best evidence of it too, besides, I guess it's going to always come off as anecdotal because I don't have a detonator and a nuke in my hand. But But I think some of the best evidence for it is like, okay, so World War II ends, America has the monopoly on nukes, supposedly. Nobody on Earth has them. And then they just let Russia aggressively create one and use the next 5 years to aggress. It's like if you had a monopoly on guns, you're the only person with guns. And you're like, yeah, let me just let this person aggressively make a gun so they can threaten me with it. You know, it doesn't make sense. Like the Russians, they spotted the Russians like, all right, y'all don't have this. You just take 5 years and you'll get it. And then take East Germany and take Berlin to where we got to do the air because they had to get supplies, the airlift into Berlin because the Russians wouldn't let anybody bring supplies into Berlin. So they had to airlift it in there. And it's like, you guys went through all the trouble of this. Why don't you just like bomb some little village in Russia and let them know, like, look, this is what's going to happen if you guys keep playing this game. But like, no, like they never had no nukes, you know? So it's like, it's so only people that benefited off of it in the Cold War it was America and Russia because they were like, oh, this arms race and they got nukes, we got nukes, and the space race. And then you got all these wars that happen afterwards where one side is funding the wars. Like whether it be, what was it? The 7-Day War or whatever in Israel, the first time, that was because the Egyptians and then were being armed by the Russians. You know, so it's like throughout the world, you go to different conflicts, and it's like these people is armed by the Russians, and these people are armed by the U.S., and they get like this benefit off of feeding proxies weapons, and it just fuels the military-industrial complex and collapses countries. And a lot of people like the argument that they make is like, well, Russia, the Soviet Union collapsed. And I'm just like, man, I don't think people understand that like a country they don't want to give you citizenship if they can get what they want from you without giving it to you. It's like the same reason like China could take Mongolia. They don't want to make all them people citizens. They don't want them to have rights. They get what they want out of Mongolia. So they're like, whatever, we could take you in overnight, but we're not going to take your country because we don't want to take care of your citizens. So we'll just get the resources this way. And so it's like the same thing with the Soviet Union when people always say that, like, well, the Soviet Union fell apart. I'm like, man, all them satellite countries like the Ukraine and all of them, they're basically extensions of Russia. Still, they still were heavily dependent, and they all still work with them. Like, so it was not like it was beneficial for Russia to collapse into factions and then just get what they want out of these other countries without giving them citizenship. So I don't know. The whole arms race and nukes in general are a joke. And if you look at it, any country in the world, like Iran, they got a space program, but that's just like a missile program. It's not about space. Like Werner von Braun he was into whatever the word is for missiles. I forget the science for making missiles. Rocket scientist.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, I'm so glad that you mentioned that because Werner von Braun and let me see, can I come back over here? If I can come back with you. Okay, I don't want to be just me. I want it to be both of us. There we go. And I don't want it to be so large. There we go. Make it a little smaller. Operation Paperclip and all this other stuff. And it's all such, which is the reason why I feel like it's like a continuous circle of trash that goes on. It's like, okay, you were with the bad guys. You were with the bad guys too. Okay, so I guess what? The bad guy's gonna be gone, but we're gonna give you, which was like the major bad guy, because the bad guy was not as smart as you. You're a real bad guy, but you're very smart. We're gonna let you come stay here, and you can bring your whole entire family, and we're gonna give you a whole bunch of land that you can live on, and then we're gonna give you a job, and we're gonna expect that you're gonna be trustworthy. It's like, okay, all of this stuff is a joke, dude. None of this stuff is real. You really gonna bring some cat and a whole bunch of his cohorts here to the United States that was alleged to have been the evil Pinky and the Brain mastermind to all the other stuff that was going on during that time frame. Frankly, I don't believe nothing nobody tells me as far as history is concerned. I'm sorry, I just don't.
Yeah.
I flipped the script on stuff.
Yeah, I think people definitely died in World War II, but it was a
definitely.
world war. It was a world war. A lot of people dying from typhus and starvation. Like
absolutely.
you can produce bodies and be like, oh, these people were all in camps. I'm like, how do I know? I gotta check all these bodies. It was a world war with dozens of countries. Of course, you can show bodies. But yeah, it's crazy, man. That whole thing, the whole World War II thing. Yeah, World War II is that one is crazy. That one's really, it won't go away. It won't let it go away.
They're not going to let it go away because it's one of their finer moments.
Yeah.
Because some of the, and again, here's the thing. I know that people passed on, and I know that people did go into war. I do understand, and I do believe that. What I'm really saying is that the storyline that was given or handed out was not the storyline that was truthful. And I believe that because that worked a few times, if not a massive amount of times, that they continue to use that narrative that tell the people that it's for the greater good, tell the people that something was going to harm them. Never mind what we did to start any of this. Okay. But tell the people that it's for the people. All right. That's my Bane. That's how Bane sounds to me. Oh, it's for the people. But tell the people that we're going to do this for them and they'll be all right with it. We promise. Nothing's ever been for us. And I believe that what had happened. And the reason why a lot of us are able to say that we don't believe it now is because the advent of the internet really did shoot them in the foot to a certain extent, which is the reason why I believe that they pulled back on some of the knowledge and information that people could get from it. Let me say why I feel that way. Because prior to a certain point, people were able to get a lot of information that was factually truthful because they uploaded a lot of stuff that had been microfiched. They uploaded a lot of information and housed it in certain areas, and people could get to a lot of that. But I think they overestimated themselves in thinking that we weren't going to dig and look for as much as, we dug and we looked for, and that we found and captured, or that we go back to the Wayback Machine and pull up. Nonetheless, these types of things are not as easy to pull over our eyes or pull the wool over our heads anymore, because just like those instances happened when you referenced, I think it was Chernobyl. Was it Chernobyl you referenced in one of the videos? It was Chernobyl. Okay. So now that whole area is shut down, but we're also hearing that there are unbelievable animals there now. What's really there?
Yeah, right.
You see what I'm saying?
And what are they doing underground? Maybe it's like what's actually happening. You never really know. You're not getting access to these sites. It's like the Grand Canyon.
The Grand Canyon. Oh boy, yeah. Oh boy. Yeah. Look, I go ahead. Because we could go on the Grand Canyon. As a matter of fact, if you want to talk about the Grand Canyon, you want to talk about the big old sequoias, you want to talk about anything, Yellowstone, why it's burning. You can talk about anything you want. Let me go ahead. I'll give you full layout.
I was just saying, like, we don't have access to these places. There's so many acres in the Grand Canyon that you just can't get to. So many things are off limits. I wonder how it is, who can actually go into Chernobyl they just got a monopoly off of like the narrative, because you can't get in there. And if you go in there, you come out, you document it, then I guess not at that point it's a paper trail that you get arrested or something. I don't really know what the protocol is, but like, yeah, that's kind of all I was saying, man. There's no way that you can really trust the narrative if the public doesn't have any oversight. You don't have any third parties or people doing any investigations. It's all just, we should just trust you.
What do you think about, because I know that I've been looking at the gentleman's series on, This is Egypt, a couple of other things. A lot of other people are talking about a lot of different things, but I want to know what you think specifically about the timeline itself. Do you believe that we are in the time that they think that we're in, or they say that we're in? Or do you honestly, are you a person who, believes that because of the shifting of time, by removing and adding, taking days away and dividing them for this Caesar or that Caesar, that it's caused our timeline to be a little off? Do you believe that it could be another year as opposed to being 2026 in the United States, for example? Obviously, we know that other countries do not use our timeline. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get anybody, I guess, in consensus with the time. When you're in the Islamic world, I think the year is like 1400 or something, somewhere in there. I forgot what year they claim it to be. And then China and the so-called Jews, I think this like the year 50 something hundred. I don't really know the exact dates on those, but yeah, I don't think it's the year they say it is, because that's like the perfect way for people to be blindsided by whether it be astrological events that are unforeseen, or like they are known. There is knowledge about them, but the knowledge is by and large hidden. And because a lot of it is like that. It's like the universe is basically like a clock, and if people don't really know what time it is, they don't really know what's coming, what's on the playbill. Like if all the world's a stage, there's a script or a scripture. Everything is coded. Whether it's a tree that has drops its leaves at certain times, a person reaching maturity at a certain time, all of that is like in the code. So when it comes to controlling the timeline, it's like there's this objective reality that the code in the scripture is just going to play out. And if you're just oblivious to that, then you get caught up in a subjective, like conceptual false reality where people just think things are hunky-dory, or we're in this time, or this many years away from the last apocalypse or whatever. If we knew exactly how long ago it was since the last reset, I think we would behave different. If we knew like, oh man, we're due, or we're this many generations out. I mean, even if it wasn't going to be in our lifetimes, if it was going to be in 100 years, and we knew it for certain, I think people would, their approach to breeding and raising their family, all of that would be different. Sex, everything would have a different approach. But since we're in this like nihilistic state where, some people believe we're on a spinning ball in nothingness that randomly appeared. So like, I think that's all just like contributing more to like the parasitic nihilist landscape that we're experiencing. Because if you knew what time it was, like actually, colloquially, then you would behave differently. I think there's no way. If you know who you are, what you are, where you are, in that sense, like we're in America, we're in Egypt, we're in Israel, whatever. You know who you are, where you are, what you are, and what you are, and when you are, then I think it's your whole approach to life is going to be different. Like in the Tao Te Ching is like, it's just, there's a passage where it's saying like, if you know where you come from, like basically you just have no attachments. Like if you actually knew what time it was and who you were, what you are, your attachments to things in this world would be different. Your relationship to attachment itself would be totally different. But if you just think like, hey man, it's 2026 and this is the peak modernity, and no one's ever been at this level of modernity before, and everything, this is the most advanced that things have ever been, then I think it's just a lot easier for you to be flat-footed if there is a transition.
Meanwhile, there were via mana here long, long ago. There were transportation. There was all kinds of stuff. Speaking of that, I want to talk to you and ask you, What do you think about? Okay, can I just throw a word out and you go with it? You want to do that? Do you mind doing that? I'll just throw a phrase
All
out.
right,
You
yes.
want to go? Okay, Anunnaki.
All right. Anubis in plurality. I think there's definitely a connection with the dog star Sirius and Anubis, Anunnaki. I think that's all where that consciousness or that portal of consciousness is centered, is more in the Sirius system. And Anunnaki or Anubis itself is like the carrier between. Sirius is the brightest star in the sky, and Anubis, the dog, the jackal, and Sirius being the dog star. Anubis is like supposedly the chauffeur that takes you from the afterlife to and from, like whether you're reincarnating or incarnating, what have you. Anubis brings you here, and if you're leaving this place, Anubis takes you out. So I don't know. I have my theories about Anubis or about the dog star, since it's the brightest. I always wonder, like, maybe that's actually the origin point, source kind of sounding like Sirius. I don't know, but I think it might be the origin point or the gateway into the origin point, and that's why people like allude to Anunnaki being like the architects and stuff.
Yeah, because I've, the Epic of Gilgamesh is one of my favorite things to read. So and anything dealing with history, world history or otherwise, I love those kinds of things as well. So I know that that's been some of the things that people have chatted and talked about, and then we talked about it a few months ago here, almost a year ago, because I've been gone for the year. We've come off and on, but not my brother and I. But my point is that we've all talked about it, and everybody seems to have a different theory, and that's all you can have, to be honest with you. That's really all you can have. You can have a very strong feeling about something, but but it's really theoretical. Everything is a theory, and that's just me. That's my personal opinion. I believe that there are a lot of different things that are out there that I have to hold on to believing some of them, because I don't believe the lies. And until I can see what you're telling me, not you, but in general, I'm going to hold on to you not telling the whole truth, because you're just like me and you just have a theory. Therefore, I can respect where you're coming from because we're intelligently chatting about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think it might be overlap throughout all the theories. There might be like little tidbits in all of them, so I can respect all of them.
And I do.
Yeah.
And I do. I believe that there's nothing wrong with respecting everybody's perspective. Now, there's some stuff that I ain't gonna do. Okay, there's some stuff I ain't gonna do. I ain't going with it, and I don't care what you say. I believe that you're okay for having that mindset. And for those of you who know me, you know what I mean. You can go ahead on believe that, but when you leave this place, baby, you're gonna leave here what you came here. Okay, that's what you're gonna do. You're gonna leave like what you came here as. I want to thank you right now very much for, there's one of my wonderful, I love all these young people that I call my sons and daughters, but this is Dark Lake, who is not a child by any stretch of the imagination. This man is brilliant. Thank you so very much for supporting the channel. I really do appreciate it. Like the video on your way in. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. Listen, I want to tell you guys that Taylor is, I could never quantify everything that he is in this two, visits that we've had together. But what I will tell you is, if you can go to his channel, Taylor Durden, here's his YouTube. I'm going to share it with you. I'm going to keep you up here, Dark Lake, because I appreciate you for supporting your friend. I do appreciate you. Here is his YouTube channel. I could never, ever, ever tell you everything about this awesome young man. But what I will tell you is, by going to this channel, and I'm going to cut and I'm going to put this down inside of the chat right now, going to his channel, you can support him. You can find out everything about him. You can learn a lot more in depth, more than I'm able to allow my conversation to go into tonight. I'm going to throw a couple of other words, because I like being a crap stirrer. I like it. I like to take the spoon and stir it. So I'm going to throw a couple of other words later. I do want to talk flat earth. I do. Somebody gonna say, oh my God, it's okay, I gotta go. Well, baby, you go on, but we're gonna talk about it. I want to talk about it all. I think that there's a lot of taboos behind certain things, and those taboos that prevent us from growing, or that prevent us from going, you can be like a lot of other people and not have any thought process that helps you think for yourself. Independent thinkers. All right. You can be that way, but then you're not going to be able to change, because you're going to be just like everybody else. But if you just throw it down there a little bit and just say, hey, you know what? Let me think about this. This could be some truth. I want to talk about Atlantis. I want to talk about all of that. I like to talk about things that are on the fringe. Why? Because it helps. It helps. I love to ask this question. As a matter of fact, I told one of my grandsons the other day, I said, if you want to trip somebody up and make sure that they're not lying to you, keep asking why. Why? And then they said, well, just because it's just because that's the way that it is. Ask them again, why? Keep asking why. And if you keep asking why, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to expose their BS, or they'll concede to the fact that maybe they just don't know everything. This young man has 30,000 subscribers. If you all have not gone over and subscribed to his channel, please take that link and do it. We played the Bible is the Periodic Table last week. We also looked at a couple of other videos that he has here. His shorts are second to none. His reels are second to none on Instagram. He talks about a lot of stuff, and I already told y'all last week, I love it when he goes, look. You got to pause it right there, take a screenshot, and go do your own research. But he thinks for himself, and that's why I wanted to start, my return with someone as awesome as he. I wanted to start it with him because he's an independent thinker. And just like the young man who just blessed the channel, Mr. Dark Lake, you have always been an independent thinker. You shake stuff up everywhere you go, and I appreciate you for shaking it up. Oh, wait a minute. Let me see. Do I still have this song? I'm going to play this song. This is a song that I have that thanks people. Bud, it thanks people for giving to the channel. Let me see if can I find it over here. I'm like an old woman now, rambling around in the bottom of my pocketbook for a peppermint at church. But won't you indulge me? Thank you. Charlie said that he has subscribed to your channel, and I hope that that everybody else does the same thing. Most importantly, make sure that you let him know who you are and where you came from by going over on Instagram as well as on Facebook. Now, Facebook, it's not your name. Tell us what it is on Facebook.
It's Taolore, Taolore. Taolore, like just Taylor, but Taolore. I had to change it because my other one get deleted, so I just changed my name. So it's just Taolore, Taolore.
Oh, Lord, have mercy. Okay, so let me see. Do I have this video?
It takes money. Put clothes on your back. It takes money. Well, if your pockets ain't where to send, no.
Okay, y'all, that was my mother's song. That was her. Rest her soul. She's no longer here physically. Do I believe she's, she's my ancestor. So yeah, she is. But listen, that was a song that she made a long time ago. So what I did was turned it into a thank you song. So let me hit it again now that you guys got that knowledge. Now that y'all got that knowledge and you know who this lady is. Let me go ahead on and put her on again. Hit it, mommy.
It takes money. Put clothes on your back. It takes money. Well, if your pockets ain't where to send, no.
She let you know empty pockets ain't where it's at. When I stopped to listen to the words of that song, my God, I could not believe that my mom was saying that. But my mom died in 1983, and she is the kit and caboodle in the UK and in London and all over there. They're literally purchasing her stuff, and it's amazing. So that was my mama. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I'm glad to be a part of your return. If you've been on hiatus, man, I know it's tough to get back on here. When I took a year off from social media once after my Facebook got deleted, I was just like, man, it's just like building on rented land. So then I was just dejected, and then it took a while to come back. So it's nice that you come back. I'm glad I could be a part of that.
I'm so glad you're here. I really am. It really had me excited to come back today, to sit with you again and just to talk to you and just have, a very casual conversation, but just to bring up topics that, I like to shake up stuff. I like to walk by and kick a person's apple cart and say, yeah, you thought you had 12 apples in there, but you only had 11. Count them again. I love doing that. I love it. So that's what I'm here for. I'm here to shake stuff up. That's what I'm here for. So I do want to talk about, I'm gonna throw another word, and I do want to throw Antarctica out there. What and why and what's going on? Why do you think it's the way it is? And what happened? I thought everybody could go at one time, but then all of a sudden they couldn't go. What do you think? Is that ice wall real?
I never been. That's the one supposed continent I never been to. I really couldn't tell you on the first hand. I think I knew one person that went down there, but he said it was a totally controlled experience. Like, you get off the plane, they take you to the camp or whatever. It's not like he really, was able to just like meander around and see and like, go explore for himself. So I really don't know. I really don't know what's going on down there. I definitely have my thoughts about it. I think it's kind of like that expression. I don't know if you heard it before. It's like, the only difference between fiction and nonfiction is that fiction has to make sense. And I think the reality does make sense if you can actually, get the whole thing. But I think based on like what the information we've been given and like what we're trying to piece together a lot. And in a dark age basically right now. And I think people were to really get like just completely unadulterated truth, that it would not seem to make sense at first. So I think when it comes to Antarctica or the flat earth situation, I think there's a lot of models in flat earth for that community that are easily debunked. And it's just like 9/11, where you got a bunch of theories that are easily debunked, and then people just hand wave away all the real questions that do need to be answered that have been left unanswered. So it's the same thing with flat earth. I can't say that I have a model that I made myself or the one that I agree with more than others. Like, I definitely I'm intrigued by some. Some definitely makes certain points that I'm like, okay, maybe I could take some from this model and some from this model and try to put it together, but I really don't know. And like, I would like to see, but at the same time, I don't really like the ocean like that. So I don't know if I'm ever going to go out there.
It ain't got nothing to do with the ocean for me. First off, I don't want to go nobody where don't nobody want me.
Yeah.
That's the first piece. I don't want to go where don't nobody want me. And then the second part is I don't want to go where it's that cold and that vicious. And I also believe that the reason why I believe this way is because I don't think that a lot of the things that we thought were gone are gone. I think that there are still giants. I do think that there are still, like the Kandahar giants out, in Afghanistan. I do believe those things still exist. I do. And the reason why I do is because why would they all be destroyed? Why? You have is it Tartaria? Is it there were giants. Oh goodness. I know Gad had giants, but I can't remember where else there were giants.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
I mean, I think that type of stuff is there. I think it's just in the DNA. People just call it like whatever they call it, like some type of pituitary problem or whatever. People that like are just like really freakishly tall,
and then also
6 fingers, tail,
toes.
People that are fused together, multiple heads, all that kind of stuff. I think is just like little remnants of what once was. Like things that actually did look like Shiva, things that did look like Kali, things that like those type of creatures existed. And I think the remnants of them are still within us. It's just not as strong as it would be because they're just not, they've just been reduced to being like fragments, like the collective, instead of actually running into like a thoroughbred version. If you ran into like a blimmy or a cryptid, that was just like full bred, But at this point, I think they've been largely weeded out, where forced to assimilate to where, people we can't tell the difference, or it just comes out as a birth defect, and that's what we call it.
Mm-hmm. I remember when I when I was in school, I had a college professor, one of the law professors, and he said there is no such thing as a birth defect. He said what it is somebody did something to your baby before they got here or on their en route to getting here that maimed them. As far as birth defects and birth marks, it was more so birth marks than anything. And I thought that curious, but the more that I have 4 children, I've got 5 all total, but I've birthed 4. And the more that I look at my grandkids and everything, I said, you know what? He's absolutely right. Because I do have one grandchild who was born with some type of situation, but it was because of something the doctor did or did not do. The same with one of my children. He had a loss of oxygen because they kept me in labor too long. And then by the time they decided to go ahead and help me bring him here, he has some motor skill issues, but he's brilliant. My point is a lot of the things that we're told are not necessarily truth. A lot of the things that we're told, we just grow to believe it because somebody said it. And so when I bring that topic up, I do want to talk about what's going on right now in, if you're comfortable with it, in Iran, and how I don't believe that a lot of the stuff that we've seen on television or internet, or even if we're just scrolling through and we don't watch, this stuff, but we happen to see it as we scroll. How much of this stuff is true? What do you, in your impression, by your opinion, because we're only here to give opinion, and this is just for entertainment purposes only, right, folks? This is nothing that you can write home to mother and it's not going to change your life. All that we're doing is speaking about stuff for entertainment purposes, as well as information that we just want to, shoot the crap about. I remember in the very beginning when I saw a lot of the stuff that was going on allegedly in the Ukraine, somebody left some of the cameras up. Some of the city streets were just as peaceful and as halcyon as you could ever imagine. Some of the areas that they said were being offended, obliterated, hit, there was none of that stuff going on until, of course, they realized that those cameras were there and made sure that they removed them. But what do you think about a lot of the stuff that's going on right now in Iran as it relates to the United States allegedly whipping their tails? Personally, I don't believe anybody's getting their tails whipped. Personally, I believe that there is genocide going on again. I believe that there are a lot of people being harmed again. But I do believe that it could be all the governments agreeing. Could be all the governments disagreeing. I don't know. What do you think?
When it comes to Iran, I mean, it's an old history. It's hard to start right now because you had the was it the Anglo-Persian oil company that became BP? That was kind of like the beginning. Was it the 50s? And then they got rid of the Shah because they basically had like they had a good relationship. I guess you got to go back to World War II, but they were sympathetic to the Nazis. And then, when they cut off the Anglo-Persian, they tried to basically nationalize the Anglo-Persian oil company. And then the British were like, oh, no, you don't. We're going to, I forget the guy who did the espionage. Oh, I know his name. I can see his face. But they sent the guy in there. They did, did the coup against the Shah. They got him out. I think it was 1953 or 1954. And then, so, there was this like intimate connection. They installed a leader, they installed the leader from probably even before him. But in 53, they installed a leader of 54. And then, you fast forward some and you get to the hostage situation, 1979, where that basically determined our election. So like the CIA, I think that they staged that whole thing as far as like the hostage situation. I think that I don't know if the hostages knew, but they staged that whole thing, to me, in my opinion, because it determined the election. Because Then they get George Bush, Herbert Walker Bush. He becomes the vice president with Reagan, and he basically was the shadow president because he was the head of the CIA prior to that. And so I think that they had an instant bond, Iranians and the Americans, because they had basically elections. As soon as Reagan win, they release hostages, and then after that, you get Iran Contras. America was selling weapons, and it would give Israel, and it was delivering weapons to Iran in the 80s because Iran was fighting the Iraqis. The Iraq-Iran war in the 80s. So America supplying weapons through Israel to Iran in the 80s. They were cool. It was cool. After all the hostage shit and all that, they still delivered weapons to them. So then, and at the time, I think Khamenei was the guy that they just killed. I think he was the guy. I think early in his tenure at that time, obviously had no quarrels with Iran enough to deliver them weapons to fight a war against Saddam, who they were also working with. So it was like this whole thing, was just a military-industrial complex, operation, and that to me that just looks like Israel, Iran, and America had deep ties, and they were cool for a long time. And yeah, I think those Marines got blown up in Lebanon. They blamed that on Hezbollah and everything. They say the Iranians funded that. But I think there are rogue actors in a compartmentalized sense where people are just radicalized either by religion or what have you. Because you also got to think about it like the reason Hezbollah even exists in Lebanon, real destabilized Lebanon. They pushed all the people out of Palestine into Lebanon because Lebanon was a Christian country dominantly. And then they pushed all the Muslims into Lebanon. Now it's like 50-50, I think, because we're all living in Palestine. So Israel comes in, or the Israelis, or so-called the proxy, these cosplayers, they come in, they push the Palestinians north and into Syria, into Lebanon, into Jordan. So you got all the millions of Palestinians in Lebanon. They're pissed. So now they want, they form, Hezbollah gets formed. And then, it's all like controlled opposition. It's just like how Hamas was created by Israel. Hamas creates Israel so that they could undermine. They didn't want Palestine to unify under Yasser Arafat.
Well, so Israel did Hamas. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they funded. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they funded Hamas to undermine Yasser Arafat and split the Palestinians into two factions. So I look at it every time like how much of this is controlled opposition. This is like the same old game, and how cool are they really at the top? Like how bad. I think there's definitely lower level people that get animated by the propaganda and the rhetoric and everything, but I think at the top they might actually be cool. I think they, it's maybe just part of the reset. I don't know, like because those Iranians that are there, they're not the original people of that land. So like, I'm sure there's still so-called Afro-Iranian, all of that going on down there, and I think there's definitely people that are mixed and part of that remnant of the original people. But the leadership of Iran, I mean, whenever they show them, I'm like, these are definitely either far removed, fragmented people, or they're just invaders. So like, they don't really represent that land or the people that are from that land. So it's the same in America. I'm like, how can I really act like they're righteous or good at the top? And so I'm always like looking at it that way, like how much of this shit is them working together, and then also Israel wants control over all of those pathways. They want control over the Strait of Hormuz. That will give them 20% of the, control of 20% of the oil and the natural gas and all that. They want to get the Houthis out of Yemen so they can control the Suez. And then they want total hegemony over the region. So like, I look at it like you got all these Gulf states getting attacked, like the Emirates and Bahrain and Kuwait. They're all in Saudi Arabia. They're all being attacked by Iran supposedly, but when they first attacked Iran in June of 2025, the Israelis had developed a drone base within Iran to attack from within the country. So they obviously have proxies and people that are switch hitters on their side within Iran, you know, enough to build a attack it from them. So I'd be surprised inside of Iran that they're using to bomb Bahrain and Kuwait and Saudi Arabia, destabilize the whole region. You know, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, because that's like my two theories on it. Is like, you know, that this is either coordinated at the top and they're all just part of the reset, or Israel is just really bombing the Gulf states from the Iran side, blaming it on Iran, and so it just continues to shift, you know, the economy of the world. And as
I agree.
it continues, yeah. So as this continues, I mean, all those countries can be like, yeah, we want to make Iran pay. So you get a bunch of countries on board, and I don't see how it doesn't escalate into a greater regional conflict. And I think they might have started the ground invasion, and that's why those jets got shot down today. I think it might have started already today.
You know, I'm playing this right here. I'm going to play this because a few years ago, I noticed something before the whole Palestinian situation happened. And I have my own opinion, and I've had several lives here where I have voiced my opinions about that region as a whole. And I'm just going to play this video because this is what he planned to do. And by he, I mean the prime minister. And I always like to poke fun because I ask everybody all the time, do you know they have a president in Israel? But a lot of people don't know it. But this was the plan, and this is going to remain the plan until ICEM. I think that it's what it's the ICAM or ISAM or something like that. But it's a thoroughfare. It's a corridor. And I started this. I said it a few years ago. Soon as we showed this, right after, because here's what led me to even start digging on this, when I saw a large coalition of Black folks end up going into Israel and having an audience with Benjamin Netanyahu. It was at that time that I found it very curious that all of these individuals were there. And so I started to do a little digging because I know the inherent racism that exists there between those people and us here. I'm going to leave that alone. If people don't understand the truth, then that's on you. It's for another time. But I thought that was very curious for the Black caucus, all these Black folks from, the government to be sent there and to have an audience with him. Well, my feelings were that it was because he needed somebody to root him on in the Black churches. And I was right. Let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm going to turn it up. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. I want you to, this is 2023, to remember in September of 2023, Benjamin Netanyahu spoke at the United Nations. At that time, he shared his plans. I want you to watch this, and then I want you to listen to the end, because it's at the end where you'll find where your Secretary of State was this morning and what it was that he discussed with the Cyprus government. Let's take a look back at September of 2023.
2 weeks ago, we saw another blessing already in sight. In the G20 conference, President Biden, Prime Minister Modi, and European and Arab leaders announced plans for a visionary corridor that will stretch across the Arabian Peninsula and Israel. It will connect India to Europe with maritime links, rail links, energy pipelines, fiber optic cables. This corridor will bypass maritime checkpoints, or choke points rather, and dramatically lower the cost of goods, communication, and energy for over 2 billion people. What a historic change for my country. You see, the land of Israel is situated in the crossroad between Africa, Asia, and Europe. And for centuries, my country was repeatedly invaded by empires passing through it in their campaigns of plunder and conquest elsewhere. But today, as we tear down the walls of enmity Israel can become a bridge of peace and prosperity between these continents. Peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia will truly create a new Middle East. To understand the magnitude of the transformation that we seek to advance, let me show you a map of the Middle East in 1948, the year Israel was established. Here's
Look
Israel
carefully.
in 1948. It's a tiny country, isolated, surrounded by a hostile Arab world. In our first 70 years, we made peace with Egypt and Jordan. And then in 2020, we made the Abraham Accords, peace with another 4 Arab states. Now look at what happens when we make peace between Saudi Arabia and Israel. The whole Middle East changes. We tear down the walls of enmity. We bring the possibility of prosperity and peace to this entire region, but we do something else. You know, a few years ago, I stood here with a red marker to show the curse, a great curse, the curse of a nuclear Iran. But today I bring this marker to show a great blessing, the blessing of a new Middle East between Israel, Saudi Arabia, and our other neighbors.
The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made an unannounced visit to Cyprus this morning. The Cypriot officials have said that during Antony Blinken's brief stopover in Larnaca, the U.S. Secretary of State discussed the Cypriot proposal to establish a maritime aid corridor to Gaza. The U.S. Secretary of State met with the Cypriot President Nikos Christodoulidis during the unannounced trip. The Cypriot government spokesperson states that during the meeting, there was a discussion on unfolding developments in the Middle East, as well as on Cyprus's proposal for a dedicated one-way maritime corridor of a sustained flow of humanitarian aid from Cyprus to civilians in Gaza. Earlier on Sunday, Cypriot president said how aid could be delivered was still being worked out, saying, quote, "Ships cannot approach the sea area off Gaza, so we're talking to the United Nations, which will handle the aid and not Hamas," Christodoulidis told reporters. For Headlines with a Voice, this has been the Lockhart News Brief.
All right, so that was from 2023, but it was an excerpt of a much larger live that I had done in 2022, somewhere in there, 2023, at the top of it. Here's the point. This whole thing that everybody is going off and losing their mind and losing their lunch about was already planned, because the corridor that they are talking about, and it's actually IMEC, it is a maritime corridor. This corridor is actually going to rival China's Belt and Road Initiative. And in order for them to have this, they have to clear that entire pathway. So it's just like you purchased a plot of land that had like a whole bunch of old apartment complexes that had been abandoned. And we're just using this, not that the places that they've gone into have been abandoned. Please don't take it so seriously. Just follow me, folks. You decided that you and your team want to come through, and you've got like 10 blocks and you want to clear all these old apartments. So what do? You use a couple of different ways to clear it. You're either going to go through with bulldozers, you're going to start to pick it apart and break all the rebar and the concrete up, or you're going to do some implosions, put some dynamite in the buildings and implode them, let them come on down. You're going to do a lot of things, and then once all the rubble is there, now you can take some tandem trailers. You can get some tandem trailers and bring that all, and you fill them all up, yards and yards of rubble, and you get rid of it. And now you can build whatever it was that you proposed to build. This is that. It's a twofold situation, because it's not just clearing the land, but it's also at the same time getting rid of a couple of enemies. So this is another reason why, unfortunately, when I lost, my stepdad last year who raised me, and then my stepmom right after in October, I had to take a break because I had already said a lot of the stuff And if you guys would ever just go, which a lot of you already do, go on over to the Lockhart Perspective, the smaller channel of this family, you'll see we have thrown so much on the wall, from the Anunnaki, from talking about flat Earth, versus, are we a ball? We're throwing a lot of stuff, but this topic right here, dealing with maritime, I know like this because that is what I've studied almost all my life, which is biblical things and dealing with history. So this right here is exactly the reason why this is all going on. But sometimes we start to get clouded because we forget that was always a plan. And did you see the glee that he had when he took that red marker and showed exactly what could happen if? Now, for those folks who do not know exactly what the IMEC is, I think I have it here. Alrighty. So it's just really briefly, it's an integration between Asia and the Arabian Peninsula and Europe, with Israel serving as a keynote. It was announced at the 2023 G20 Summit, which is what you just saw an excerpt of. This initiative aims to create a fast, cost-effective transit network that acts as an alternative to existing shipping routes like the Suez Canal and China's Belt and Road Initiative. Here are some of the key aspects of IMEC's initiative. The route, the corridor, consists of an eastern corridor connecting India, the Arabian Gulf, and a northern corridor connecting the Gulf of Europe via Jordan and Israel. The core participants, the project connects India, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and Europe. Strategic proposal. It is designed to enhance trade, improve energy security, and foster regional integration by linking rail, shipping, and digital infrastructure. Regional reapproachment. IMEC is viewed as a mechanism for strengthening ties between Israel and its Arab neighbors, particularly Saudi Arabia, by forcing collaboration on logistics and regional stability, sometimes called railways for regional peace. Now, this thing goes on and on and on and on and on. But what I'm telling you is, everybody watching and those who watching in the replay, it ain't always what it seems. It ain't always, and it could be something so light and so easy, but this is that. Now, some would say, why would they go through all of this and harm all of those individuals just to do this? Hey, consider the people, consider the players. Hey, don't get upset with me. You know what I mean? Don't get upset with me. Consider your folk. Consider the players. That's all I got to say. Consider them folk. But this is the real reason. And they get to double up on a couple of things. So anyway, listen, what do you think about that?
Yeah, that's it. I think that they want to make, my opinion, they want to make Jerusalem the financial center of the world. Because you look at, like, New York is already the financial center of the world right now. Most of the world, predominantly, the majority of the world's gold is stored in under the New York Fed. So New York is the financial center right now. And I think that once things shift into a crypto Jew, marketplace, I guess you could say, once it shifts into that more fully, I think then, that's the idea, is to make Jerusalem the center of that. That'll be the world's capital, or the financial capital, like New York is today. And then they'll dominate trade from Asia to Europe and Africa. They'll be in such a perfect place for it. And that's pretty much definitely what I see with the whole thing, is they want to control the Strait of Hormuz, to control the oil, the 20% of the oil flows. They want to control the Suez, and make more pipelines. That's why they want to get rid of Gaza, so they can have the natural gas pipeline. And I think they're just trying to corner those markets, use the American military industrial complex as long as they can, until they can actually amass some sort of AI drone army or defense system, and then try to discard America. I think that's what I think their goal is. So I don't know how far they get along.
They're Rome. Yeah, they are Rome. Rome.
Yeah.
That's who that is. Because both Rome and these cats all got the same exact all of them. They all got the same stuff. That's Rome. That is Rome. And Rome once ruled the world partially. And the goal is to do it again. And they are everybody. Everybody. I mean, like I said last week, these cats are the Indians, and they are they would be the black folks. Okay, they are the Egyptians. They the Egyptians. They the Indians. This group of people. Japheth is everybody. Yafet, as you said last week, which is most correct because there was no J. But yeah, they everybody. These cats are everybody. But listen, I appreciate you for being here. I know I probably didn't talk about none of the stuff that you want to talk about. Did I? I hope we had some, or is it just cool to get to know us? Is that what's good?
Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, no, it's good with me. However long you want to talk and whatever you want to talk about, I think it's always nice because I don't want to get too much in a rut. It's always nice to have somebody else break it up and bring up some other things because I might just end up just repeat myself.
Well, I know I do, but that's a part of being just an elder, because we got to throw enough on the wall, like I always say, it's so that some of it sticks. Some of it sticks. I just know that a lot of people get so caught up, unfortunately, in the fear and then the clutching their pearls with what they see, that they don't ever slow down and think about it. If you really think about it, Pinky and the brain, there's only a couple of things. They need the money and they need the control and power. It's just those two things. It's never, if anybody throws something else and says that this is the real reason why X is going on, it's not. It's about power and it's about money. Even if you dwindle it all down and start to boil it all down, ladies and gentlemen, that's what it's all about. That's just my impression. I can't see any of the things that's going on right now for any other reason. I can't see it for any, I can't think of any other reason why a lot of this stuff is going on. Control and money. That's how I see it.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't know. The money is a means to the control and the dominance over people's bodily function and their dreams. The whole thing is that's what they want into your body, and I think that big tech and all of that. I mean, you look at Larry Ellison, he's one of them. You look at, to me, even Elon Musk is one of them. So and I think that, they got big tech in their pocket. And I think that's what they're going to probably use as a trampoline to usher in that world that they think that they want. But yeah, that's pretty much what I see. I see the same, I'm seeing pretty much the same thing, that you're saying. It's just,
I just like the fact that go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I was just gonna say, big tech is pretty much it. What we're dealing with, the issue, the main problem that we're dealing with. Whether it be
is it a technocracy? Are we under technocracy?
I guess ultimately, yeah. I mean, if you think about as far as genetic manipulation and just crafting the perfect host for parasites, I mean, we're dealing with crazy tech in that way. But on a, I guess, a more basic level, I mean, Larry Ellison basically owns he owns the internet in a lot of ways, big chunks of the internet. So you're dealing with Larry Ellison, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. As far as big tech is concerned, they're very sympathetic because I think that they are the same. They're all the same people, like you were saying. And so I think that that's really the battleground. And it's how many people are going to be, too addicted and too aligned with this artificial world that they're building. I think people that were born before we became so dependent on it, they'll be all right. But there's a lot of young people that, in the future generations, I don't think that they can fathom living without certain attachments as far as digital and I guess the so-called luxuries that come with that.
I agree. I agree. There's even babies that are addicted to telephones, holding on to them, looking like, MK Ultra, just constantly scanning a page, a page, a page, a page, a page, a page. It's like little babies just sitting there, just scrolling. I see my granddaughter, and I tell my daughter, give me that thing. Pass me that thing she got. Pass me that phone. It's an old phone, and you can hook it up to the Wi-Fi. But to me, those are the most dangerous things that you could have ever had. That's Buddy. Buddy is my dog. Everybody here knows Buddy, so I'm going to introduce you to Buddy. He's roaming around barking at something he hears outside. So he's little. You may want to tell Buddy to get a ladder because he's a little guy. He just went down the hall barking at somebody he hears outside. I don't know what it is.
I didn't know you lived in Huntsville, man. I didn't know you lived in Huntsville. I got a place. I got a little piece of property outside of Gadsden.
Oh, really?
And yeah.
Cool.
So
cool.
I was, it's just sitting there, and I'm just like, man, I always want to like develop it, but my only friend in Alabama is in Tuscaloosa, and so now I got, I guess, another friend in Alabama. But I like Alabama. Yes. Alabama's pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, we get to pack everywhere we go. We don't have to ask nobody for nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
You ain't got to ask no questions. Just make sure that you're
Huntsville
supposed
seems
to
pretty
be
cool.
Here. I mean, it's pretty
And
decent.
Yeah,
we're right outside when you consider what's in the center of us, which is the base, and everything sits outside of one of the gates. You know what I mean? We're right outside. I mean, the Redstone Arsenal is the biggest thing up on this mountain. We're way up top. We're the highest part of of Alabama. North. We're north, so we're right, not too far from Tennessee and all that good stuff. So we I like it. Certain things that I don't like.
It's really the bottom of Appalachia.
Oh boy, and that, you know what? I'm glad you mentioned it. I think I'm glad. I don't know. You're gonna have to have me on your show because I do want to talk about the Appalachian Mountains. And here's why. Because I believe the Rougarou, something's up there, man. I don't know what it is. But I think Bigfoot, the Rougarou, all of it, everything is up there in the mountains. I don't know, but there is something about that area. Do you have any idea what's good with that area? Because it's something, again, the macabre or the darkness. It's something up there. I don't know what, but I know it's something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it pretty much is just what, northern Alabama to Maine. That's like a whole. I think that was just a whole civilization grid there that, burned up. That's, from what I can see. And I wonder what's all stored underneath. I've heard of a bunch of stuff, especially like in West Virginia and stuff, as far as like different chambers and stuff beneath the surface. And like, because that's what was it? Oh, I forget what they called it. The guy's last name was Brown. He had that thing in West Virginia. It was like,
who was a guy? Not one of the guys.
Ferry?
Oh, could be. You know what? I don't know. Part of my ignorance on that. I don't know.
No, I forget. I forget what the name of the place in West Virginia was, but it was like the first railroad was there in the country.
Okay.
And yeah, and I forget. But I always just wonder like how much is like if you would go there on a ground level. I forget the name of the place, but the guy that started a revolt there, and he was like he went to a arsenal and started like distributing weapons to slaves to have an uprising or whatever, supposedly. His last name was Brown. I forget the name of the revolt, but it was in West Virginia. And I just heard a bunch of things about like how there's the Underground Railroad, like there's a bunch of shit underneath. In the Appalachians.
Yeah. Well, what I will say is I know that there's a lot of us, the indigenous Americans, that are buried and have been all kinds of stuff all the way up all over the place. And so I don't know exactly, but I will tell you, I don't know about other areas, but I will tell you that if you are a sensitive person and you come here, you can pick up different things. I'm very sensitive. And so I pick up a lot of stuff going into different pockets in different areas because I'm again, one of those individuals that don't believe that once I believe that there are residual spirits that hang out in certain areas. That's what I believe. And I also believe that in certain jurisdictions, there are certain spirits that have a heavy presence for whatever, the reason, whether it's the oppression of others or whatever. I think it's similar to that parasite phrase that you were using earlier. So I know that here in Huntsville, there's a lot of, well, put it this way, Stephen King could have wrote a book here. You can just pick up a lot of stuff. You pick up a lot of stuff. So listen, we're at the 2-hour mark. We're at 1 hour 54 minutes with Taylor Bud Durden. Bud. I hope you don't be mad at me, but when I think of Bud, I can only think of Rudy off of the Cosby. You remember Rudy on the Cosby's? Keisha
Well,
Knight.
I didn't. Yeah, wow. I wasn't expecting you to say that, but yeah. Now that you say it, yeah.
She used to say Bud.
Yeah.
But I'm so happy that you were here, and everybody's saying that's a great show. I don't want this to be the last time. I know that we've already got a lot of people lined up coming up, and I'm very excited about that. But I am the most excited about this being the first person after my hiatus, because I watched you for the whole entire year and have enjoyed you thoroughly. And we continue. Come on, talk to me. What's good?
No, I'm glad, man. I'm glad I could help you out. I guess you were in a tough spot dealing with the losses of your family members. So, I mean, I'm glad I could help you, I guess spark something in you where you want to keep going, because you got a following here. It's kind of crazy. I mean, a lot of people wouldn't walk away from that at any point, even if they're suffering. But I think that's the trouble with things now, is that people are just, they're convinced that they have to just release content. And then I think, all the time, like, I think you should get in your rhythm, whatever your personal rhythm is. But like, at this point, people look at it like, I don't care if the video is subpar. I just want to stay in the algorithm, stay relevant, keep, pushing stuff out so I can keep the reach, so I can, maintain a certain status or whatever, or not fall off. Like, and I feel like if you do got to take some time to yourself, it's better in the long run than just trying to, I don't know, what would you do in that period? Try to gather sympathy from people? That wouldn't even, nobody really wants to. I don't think anybody, wants to do that, like to get energy off of that.
And don't nobody care at the end of the day. People, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you don't want to be that person. Me personally, I just really stopped and reflected, because my circumstance was it wasn't unique from others. It was just my unique experience. I have a very unique family, complex family. That's, again, not unlike others. I can only speak from my standpoint. So my mom was married to my father, and of that union, I was the only child. When they divorced, my mom had another husband, and she had twins with them. Then she had, was done with that relationship and went to another relationship. And with that relationship, that was her final relationship before passing. She had 2 more kids. So what I, with all heaviness, disliked, just great disdain, I disliked greatly having a different last name from my siblings. I did not like the fact that we each had these different dads, and somebody's daddy was always better than my daddy. Okay, just real talk, for real, for real. So by the time she got with my stepfather, the one who just passed away last year and raised me since I was a little bitty girl, he was everything that I thought a dad should be. He taught me how to write. He taught me how to read. When I was running track, he used to be my coach. He was a very present, exemplary example of what a dad is. And so he was my dad, even though my birth father is, thank goodness, still alive right now. We do have a different type of relationship. He was my dad. So when he died last year, that took the wind out of me. It really did, because he was the one. My birth mother died when I was 18 in 1983, when I was living in California. I was raised there. So that was horrifying to lose her. And then to lose him was like a chapter in my life. Just literally, it was done. I can't explain it, but it was like that. Now, if you fast forward to October, when my stepmom passed away, that was my birth father's wife. These 2 people were very solid in my life. They were constants, and they were consistent individuals. The things that they did, they were consistent. The way that they thought was consistent with what was right, as best as they could. They were Parents do not necessarily have to share your DNA, baby. Everybody out there, parents, you know, sometimes the creator, got some plans for you. And they were in my life's plan. Now, they both did something that I did not agree with, and that was that they took the candy bar. And everybody here knows that this is the candy bar. That they both took that, and I knew that by doing that they were not going to be here. And in my personal opinion, I believe that as soon as that went in their body, they weren't here at that moment. That's me personally. But to see them literally finish up and be gone and not listen to anything or any research that I had given them broke my heart. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
It literally did. So when I lost them after begging and pleading and asking them not to do this, you guys just think about it. Two different people don't really hang out with each other, knew of one another, but never met each other like that. You know what I'm saying? Never hung around. Two people that I love that were very important to me did the opposite of me telling them, hey, I researched this thing. It's not what you think it is. If you're so set on doing it, can you please wait for a minute, wait and see what the results of it, because it's actually, it's actually just a test to see what it's going to be. Okay. And I'm using loose terms right now, but my point to them was, please don't. And they did it. And I think that's what hurt me the most. And I think that's what made me just have to sit down, shave the head and just mourn, because I mourned the fact that as much as you've taught me how to research, and I'm telling you, I've researched this to a great degree, and you're not listening. And they didn't, and they're both not here, and they should be. So yes, for the past year, I just couldn't, and I could not continue to play the game and repeat some of the stuff that was just regurgitated. I couldn't, the majority of this channel, especially the one that we're on, we're simulcast through both channels now. And I'm actually going to release one channel right now, so that way we can have a difference in the representation of the show. So I'm going to go on ahead and remove this one. Thank you all for hanging out over at the Lockhart Perspective. And if you want to come over and follow us over on the other channel, you definitely can at Headlines with a Voice. Lockhart Perspective, we'll see you there. So what ended up happening was, it's just, to me, it just felt like, why even get up and speak again? Because I've already said everything that I needed to say. That's how I felt. So with all that in mind, I appreciate you for being here. I got to bounce to Dark Lake, who was our supporter tonight, says, got to bounce. What an amazing conversation. Have a good night, Ms. Lockhart. Nice meeting you, Taylor Bud. He didn't say Bud, I did. But I appreciate you. Is there anything that you'd like to say before you leave? Please give everybody some information about where they can find you on all platforms.
My Patreon, and my Facebook is Lore, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I'd like to do it again if you have some time in the future. I'll make some time. So I appreciate you. Thank you for having me, and thank you for everybody that tuned in or watching later.
And I don't know what it is, but you always have, last time there's some great information, but now today it's just garbled. And I really, really, really don't like that. Darn. So you guys know where to find him. Y'all go on over there to Instagram and make sure that you guys show him some love. Please go on over to Patreon and make sure you show him some love. I'm going to show him some love. As soon as I get my paycheck, I'm going to show him some love. I'm going to make sure I get some books. You can get, 5 for $24 or 4 for $25 papers. What is this? Tell us about that real fast.
Yeah, I wrote 52 PDFs. They're 30 pages or less. And they're a wide range of topics, from the breath work to alternative history, dreaming, and holistic health, and Tantra, a bunch of different topics. And you can get 43 of them for $25. And then I have a $50 tier, and then you can get all the books, the video instructional videos, and the PDFs, all 52 for $100. So that's That's my bundle.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to make sure that I support, and I hope that each and every one of you all do the same. Taylor, thank you so very much. We're right now at the 2-hour, 4-minute mark. And I want to tell you, thank you, sir. Thank you, kind sir. Please, you're not a stranger. Anytime, come on by.
Thank you so much. Have a good rest of your day. Enjoy Alabama.
We got to talk about Alabama because I want to go see your land. I hope you got some water so I can go fishing. Talk to you soon.
Yeah, I'm right on the Coosa. But yeah,
okay, right. Yeah, well, yeah, I got an ugly stick downstairs. I got an ugly stick. I got a couple of other poles. I mean, I could do some damage and I can clean them myself. So yeah, I can do some damage. Okay. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much.
All right. Then.
Oh my gosh, that was exhilarating. I'm so happy to be back, and I'm so happy that we can have good conversations with good people, just regular, straight up conversations. And I'm glad that it's just us, you, me, and the handful of us who are here, and him. That was good. I like that. And I'm glad I'm back. I'm so glad. I have missed you. We're going to do things a little different though, and we're going to have fun doing it. So I hope that you guys just welcome the unique conversations and the conversations that, need to be had, and the questions that need to be asked. Because that's really what makes the difference. You know what I mean? Just asking unique questions. Hello. Just asking those questions and talking about conversations that people think are taboo. I want to talk about the Rougarou. I want to talk about Bigfoot. I want to talk about the dog man. I want to talk about all these crazy things. Why? Because sometimes stuff may not be crazy. Maybe they paint it as crazy so that we won't. But either way it goes, it'll give us something to talk about that's not the mainstream stuff that's sort of making everybody go, because I can't go anymore. I just can't do it. But guess what? I love each and every one of you guys. I love each and every one of you, and I'm so glad that you all were here with me today. Please remember that I want you to go and check out my friend because he got some good stuff for y'all. Hey everyone, it's me, Felicia, of the Lockhart Perspective and Headlines with a Voice. I want to tell you a little secret. This is what I used to do because I don't do it anymore. I would go to the store, buy the barbecue sauce, pour it inside of a bowl, put a whole bunch of different spices, a dash of brown sugar, a dash of maple, and a dash of mustard, stir it all around, and everybody would be like, oh my gosh, this is the best. But I was exhausted after all of that, and a lot of times I couldn't remember how many dashes of what I put in it. But I don't have to do that anymore because now I just go to Judge Joe Brown's website and I order his 3-pack of bottled barbecue sauce. It is by far the best, and I do mean the best barbecue sauce I've ever eaten. And when you go to his website and you order his 3-pack, you'll see exactly what I mean. Head on over to jjbbbbq.com and order Judge Joe Brown's barbecue sauce. You'll be glad you did, and you're going to tell me about it. I know you will.
Lockhart Perspective.